Hey everybody, this is Rykard here again, bringing you my next black and white Pokemon analysis. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Pride Pokemon known as Kenhorou, and this Pokemon gets two unique sprites, one for the male and one for the female, and I'll be gradually using those throughout the entire video, so just notice that for a fun fact. But let's get started by taking a look at its abilities and its stats. So much like in previous generations, there's always that mandatory, normal flying type Pokemon that you'll encounter throughout the game, and Kenhorou is no exception. As for the abilities, the first one is Pigeon Heart, which is a new ability that allows you to have your defenses never be lowered by anything. So if a Pokemon uses Screech on you, it won't work because of Pigeon Heart. So it's a pretty cool ability to have if you want to try and make sure that your defenses never go down from what they are. As for its next ability, it is a really cool one known as Super Luck, which essentially it increases your critical hit ratio by one stage, or it is always one stage higher than it normally would be. So it's a pretty cool ability to have, and it will hopefully allow you to land more critical hits than you normally would be able to. As for its last ability, and possibly my favorite ability ever in a Pokemon game, it's known as Rivalry, which it gets in the Dream World. And what it does is it basically boosts your attack power by 1.4 whenever you are fighting a Pokemon that is of the same gender as you. So that means that this Pokemon, if it's a boy, well at least in this picture it's the boy version, is up against another male Pokemon, it'll have increased attack because of Rivalry. Same thing if it was the female variant against another female Pokemon. And that's really cool in my opinion, and you will see a set that I put for this later, or this ability later. As for the stats, it has pretty good HP at 80. It's not the best, but it's still not terrible. And it also has pretty good physical defense, so it is very possible for this Pokemon to be able to run a physically defensive set and do it effectively. As for its special defense, though, it is significantly worse than the previous two, but hopefully you won't be staying in to be taking special attacks. As for the attack, or physical attack, it's at a very good 105, which means you'll be able to do a lot of physical damage with this Pokemon. And that's pretty cool because it's one of the more powerful bird Pokemon in any generation. As for the special attack, it's not nearly as good at only 65, but this Pokemon does learn a bunch of special moves, so it could definitely be possible to use if you really want to go on the special end, but it's probably not recommended. As for its speed, it's at a pretty good 93, which will allow you to have, or to be able to outspeed a bunch of things, but normally you'll be up against faster Pokemon than this, so it's kind of unfortunate that it couldn't be a little bit higher. But as for that, or as for this Pokemon, you can just see that it has pretty good physical defenses and also great attack coupled with good speed. So with that, let's take a look at a couple of different set ideas that this Pokemon can potentially make use of in competitive battles. So this first set is essentially a pretty standard attacking set that this Pokemon can make use of. So we're going to give Kenhorou a Jolly Nature to increase its speed but decrease its special attack. And then we're going to be using the ability Super Luck to give you that slight extra chance to land a critical hit on your opponent. As for the EVs, we're going to put 4 into HP, which is kind of crucial because what it does is it gives you an odd numbered HP, allowing you to switch in 4 times if Stealth Rocks are up, as opposed to if you had an even numbered HP, where you would only be able to, if you switched in the 4th time, you would be killed by Stealth Rocks, which is unfortunate. As for the EVs, there's 252 for attack to give you your max attack possible with the Jolly Nature, and then 252 speed EVs to give you your max speed possible, plus the Jolly Nature. As for the item, you can either utilize Scope Lens, which is a nice item that will increase your critical hit, along with Super Luck, so you'll have even more of a chance to get a critical hit. I think it brings it up to 25% for each attack, so that's pretty cool. As for the other item, you can also use a Life Orb, which will allow you to do more damage, But unfortunately, since you're Stealth Rock weak, it's really not the best thing to have when you're taking damage every time you attack, plus the damage you take when you switch in. So I'm not really a fan of Life Orb on this set, but it's another possibility if you want to use it. As for the moves, the first is Cheer Up, which is a nice new move that increases your physical attack and special attack by 1 stage, and since you're using a physical set, that boost is always welcome. As for the main stab move, it is known as Pluck, and what it does is it essentially, if a Pokemon is holding a berry, like a Salac berry or something, and you use Pluck on that Pokemon, what it does is you eat the berry and gain its effect, and also deal damage to your opponent. And unfortunately, the Pluck is only 60 base power, but it's still the most powerful physical flying move that this Pokemon learns. It's actually one of 3 physical flying moves that all have 60 base power, which is kind of stupid in my opinion. I think one of them should be more than that, but whatever. Another option could be Fly, but then that makes you really predictable as to what attack, or as to what move is going to hit next, so it's really up to you. As for the next move, it is Steel Wing, to allow you to hurt rock and ice types if you need to, but rock is always welcome because that's resisted by Pluck, and it also has a chance of raising your defense by 1 stage, so it's pretty cool. And then for the last move, you can either choose between Roost or Return. Return is probably its most powerful stab move because of, if you have max happiness, the power of Return is somewhere over 100 plus stab, so it'll be like 150 damage, or 150 base power. But the other option could be Roost, and that would be very beneficial if you're running the Life Orb set so that you aren't completely destroyed by attacking and Stealth Rocks. So it's up to you which of those 2 moves to use, but either one would prove to be effective in some way. This next set is probably my favorite of the 3 that I'm going to show you today, and it's because it uses the ability Rivalry. Everything else though, at least the nature, the EVs, and even the item, are the same. Rivalry is the only difference because we're hopefully going to be doing a lot of damage to Pokemon of the same gender as this one. As for the moves, the first one is going to be Attract, because anything that you don't get the 1.5 boost to can be attracted, obviously, unless it has no gender. But that is an awesome ability to have on this Pokemon because it's either you do more damage to them or they can't even hit you half the time because of the way Attract works. It's such like a ridiculous move if you can pull it off, but that's just my opinion. As for the next move in the set, or the next moves in the set, they're essentially the same as the previous one with the exception of U-turn over return, so it's a different kind of turn, I guess. But the reason for that is because you can probably U-turn safely out, or more safely out than you would in the previous set, because if they recognize that you have the Rivalry ability and will be doing more damage to them, they might want to switch out. Or if you attract one because it's female, that's usually a reason for Pokemon to not stay in. So you can use U-turn for that reason, or you can use Roost as well, because since Attract makes it so that the Pokemon really won't ever attack half the time, Roost will be a great option because since they won't be able to hit you, it's just free recovery. So it's really up to you, but this is a pretty cool rivalry set that this Pokemon can use, and it will prove to be very powerful. You won't need the move Cheer Up this time because obviously the rivalry boost that you'll get. So that's why I replaced Cheer Up with Attract to allow for coverage of females as well. And I mean, come on, look at this Pokemon. How could you resist it? But as for this set, that's pretty much what it is. It's just a variation on the first set by using Rivalry. As for this last set, we're going to be making use of Kenhorou's pretty good 80 HP and 80 physical defense to run a physically defensive set. So we're going to give her an Impish Nature to increase her physical defense but lower her special attack. As for the ability, we are going to be using Super Luck. Even though Pigeon Heart would prevent your defenses from being lowered, which would seem like a good idea since this is a defensive set, you really hardly ever see any Pokemon purposely lowering defense, like with a move like Screech or Metal Sound or something like that. The only defense drops that really occur is when they are like a second effect of a move, like Focus Blast has a chance for a special defense drop, kind of like that. So in reality though, Super Luck is the better ability. because it'll allow this Pokemon to land a critical hit more often than usual, and that's always a plus if you're trying to be defensive. As for the EVs, we're going to put 248 EVs into HP to give you that odd numbered HP that you want to have. As for the attack, we're going to put 8 EVs into attack to increase your attack by 2 points. Woohoo! As for the physical defense, we're going to put 252 EVs in your physical defense to max out your physical defense. As for the item, we're going to be using leftovers. This moveset, though, is very beneficial, or at least to this Pokemon, if you are trying to take physical hits, because it does learn this move known as Feather Dance, which is a move that I think only birdish Pokemon can learn, and what it does is it lowers your opponent's physical attack by 2 stages. So with your high defense and high HP plus Feather Dance, they really won't be able to be doing a lot of physical damage to you. So that's really cool for this Pokemon. As for the other moves in the set, we're just going to be making use of its ability to stall out physical attackers. So we're going to give Kenhorou Toxic to allow it to obviously inflict poison damage on the opponent every turn in increasing increments. Then we're going to be using the move Fly, so that you can avoid an attack for a turn and they'll take more toxic damage from Fly, and then you'll hit them afterwards. And generally, if a Pokemon sees you use Fly, they'll know that it's there, so they'll switch out to something that'll resist it. So that is a cool thing that can cause switches as well. And as for the last move, we're going to be using Roost to keep your HP up and allow you to continue to wall physical attackers effectively. But that is pretty much it for Kenhorou, and I hope you think this new Pokemon, or this new bird Pokemon, is pretty cool, because I definitely like it a lot. More so than Pidgeot, I guess, in the sense that, at least if I'm thinking along the terms of Pokemon that you find at the beginning of the game that are also the normal flying type. People think that it's not nearly as good as Staraptor, partly because Staraptor gets close combat and something like that. But this Pokemon still has its nice defenses to allow it to be more versatile in that sense. So that's pretty much it for Kenhorou, and I guess I will see you guys in my next video. So take care and goodbye.